A few years ago, I started an online coaching business. It succeeded more than I ever thought possible, and at the peak of that success, I quit. This is why.
In order to fully explain how I managed to make it so popular and why that led to me quitting, I have to give some context. So let's start there.
Growing up, I was unusually skinny. Naturally, I wasn't very happy about that, so I decided to start hitting the gym pretty seriously. I ended up liking the process so much that a few years later, I had completely transformed my body, more than I ever thought I would. With these newfound gains came a lot of people asking me for gym advice, and that's when I realized something. There are a lot of people out there who are willing to pay for that advice, so let's exploit them. No, I'm just kidding. But it did teach me a few valuable lessons. Despite personal trainers existing, there was still a big gap in the market for people looking to get fit. And what's really interesting is when you look the part, people are willing to trust you as a source of information, even if you're not very knowledgeable. The common mindset says if I want to look like him, I should get him to train me, which is not how that works. But just working out normally, minding my own business, I would get asked for workout advice several times a week by random people that I didn't even know. And I remember seeing personal trainers who likely knew a lot more than me struggling to get clients just because they didn't look the part.
It's the same thing in the YouTube finance space. Just because someone made money for themselves doesn't necessarily mean they can teach you how to make money. But oftentimes, those people are the ones who end up becoming the most successful on YouTube. Anyways, what I realized is there's a big gap in the market for this fitness advice, and people were willing to hear it from me. So there's an opportunity for a business here. I started posting my transformation pictures on Instagram, which at the time was really starting to grow. It was your standard fitness influencer grind. Post a shirtless photo and put a corny motivational caption underneath. It's been really overdone these days, but back then it wasn't as saturated. My pictures brought in some eyes organically, but I wanted to really grow the page, so just posting normally wasn't gonna cut it. I had to treat it like a business. This was in order to make different streams of income from it. I could promote fitness products, sell workout programs, and ultimately online coaching, where I would work with clients one-on-one to help them gain muscle and get leaner. My plan to make this happen was to reach out to different fitness theme pages and pay for shoutouts. They would post my transformation picture, which would bring in new followers to my page. With those new followers came in new clients as well. I would use the money I got from that to pay for more shoutouts and keep growing my page basically for free.
Something I noticed though was majority of people wouldn't stick to the training programs and diet plans I made for them. Despite me really trying to cater them to their own unique needs and lifestyle, eventually they just give up. So I was getting paid and also didn't have to spend much time keeping up with them since they would just stop responding to my check-in requests. In a way, it was good because I was still getting paid the same while spending less time, but it also wasn't since I really needed client transformations to legitimize my business. Whenever new people signed up, the first thing they'd ask for is previous client transformations to see if I really knew what I was doing, and I didn't have any at that point. Also, I felt kind of bad. They paid, so I wanted them to get their money's worth.
The people pay! The people pay because the people want to say, because I know the people pay!
Eventually though, I couldn't keep going with this theme page promotional method anymore since there were only so many legitimate pages without fake followers, and I'd gotten shoutouts from all of them. So I thought of a different way. Tinder. I sold online coaching on Tinder.
What's up, everyone? Today I want to talk about the word businessman. This has been my goal, is my goal, and this is what I like to call myself, as 100% straight up businessman.
There's no way this would ever work today, but back then, things were different. Fitness wasn't as mainstream, so a really lean, chiseled physique would stand out more, I guess. Also, the algorithm on it was different too. It was way easier to get matches back then. I put the fact that I was an online personal trainer in my bio, that way I wasn't misleading anyone, and didn't have to have the awkward conversation of, hey, nice to match with you, you look like you could lose a few pounds. So they knew what they were getting themselves into when they matched with me. And it actually worked. I don't remember the exact number, but I'd estimate I got around 10 clients from it. Eventually though, I got banned. I knew it was coming, so it wasn't a surprise or anything. But I'd gotten quite a few clients altogether by this point and very little transformations to show for it. So my business had a glaring weakness. People couldn't sustain the training programs and diet plans I made for them. This goes back to the concept of just because you're fit doesn't mean you're a good personal trainer. My way of getting fit fit wasn't a one-size-fits-all, as I clearly just realized. So I started thinking, maybe it's my fault, and partially it was my fault. People's lifestyles and personalities are so different that each one really needed a unique way to achieve their fitness goals. And even though I knew of a way to get them there, that wasn't cutting it. I needed more. This is when I really started to take things seriously. I read up on the scientific literature when it comes to exercise science and nutrition relating to body composition. Then I realized I don't know how to read the scientific literature, so read up on how to read that first. I also realized I wasn't only in the business of fitness, I was in the business of dealing with people as well. So I needed more people skills. It turns out I wasn't very good with words of encouragement. I didn't sympathize with people's problems enough. So when they would come to me with an excuse as to why they didn't stick with it, my response wasn't soft and caring enough. It was more on the stern side, I guess. I figured that's how I'd want my coach talking to me if I messed up, but not everyone's like that. So I had to get a feel for how each client wanted to be spoken to and speak to them accordingly. So this got me reading articles about human psychology as well. And all of these efforts combined really leveled up my coaching services.
During this time, I also took my marketing efforts to YouTube. I posted a few body transformation videos and some of them blew up, with the main one getting just under 12 million views, which for me is a lot. At that point, people were hitting me up for online coaching without even knowing I was offering it. And since my services had developed, I wasn't only getting new clients, but more of them were finally starting to stick around. On top of that, this means that I was actually getting the client transformations which I was looking for. I got the business success that I thought I wanted, and this is when the problem started. At its peak, I had 10 consistent clients that were really sticking to it. What this led to, though, is almost zero free time. Some people are really talkative, and since they were paying me, I couldn't tell them to stop taking so much of my time talking about semi-gym related things like how a girl glanced their way in the gym that day and what they should say to her next, like I would know. So there was no way I could scale past 10 clients by myself. I could have just hired some people to talk to them and take some load off myself, which is what a lot of online coaches do, but that's a pretty slimy tactic in my opinion. The reason they signed up is because they wanted to be coached by me and get my input. So if I were to give that work to an employee, the business loses its draw. So I couldn't scale that way. Not ethically, at least.
But I could just increase the price, right? I was charging $60 a month for my services. At 10 clients, that's only $600 a month, which is really not worth it for the amount of work I was putting in. So just increase the price. But I personally had a problem with that. Whatever an online coach is doing, it can't possibly be worth more than an actual physical trainer who's with their clients in the gym when they work out. They could look at their form and correct it on the spot. I couldn't do that. So my thought process back then was, why would someone pay me this increased price when they could just get a regular personal trainer to physically be with them in the gym when they work out? Now, I do understand the concept of supply and demand, and because I was an in-demand influencer, I could technically charge more, but I just couldn't do it for that reason. On a personal, non-salesy level, it just bothered me. I realize this happens today all the time. Barbers giving haircuts to celebrities charge way more for their services than a regular everyday barber, even though they give the same quality of haircut. There's a certain prestige, I guess, when you build your business up to that point, but I guess I just never saw myself that way. Regardless, what I realized is, for me, this business wasn't scalable. I didn't feel right hiring more people, and I didn't feel right charging more. So I highly suggest anyone going the social media route focuses more on product-based businesses, unless your service-based business is unrelated to your social media presence. But selling something like a course or a product at a fair market price to more people is much more honorable than massively overcharging for a service just because you built a following. At least in my eyes it is. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Peace.